Afternoon, folks. Bobo here. So when I was flying at Northwest, I had maybe a half a dozen, maybe a dozen, I don't know, I didn't keep track, weather diverts. And for the most part, they were relatively straightforward and unremarkable. But I had a couple that stick out in my mind. The first one was a weather divert from Minneapolis to Sioux Falls, I think. You know, we would divert to Sioux Falls or Sioux City, and in a snowstorm, those both looked alike. But at any rate, I find myself coming to a stop on the ground there, and they did not have a gate open for us. There were several other airplanes that had diverted there that day. So we're sitting out in the ramp, and this was back when I was flying the DC-9 before those Gomers blew up the World Trade Towers. And when we landed in the DC-9, because it was so hot in the cockpit, we could open the cockpit door for ventilation. So anyway, they send me to a parking spot out on a ramp, and I get out there, and we started the auxiliary power unit, the APU, and then shut down the engines to conserve fuel. And we're sitting there, 15 minutes goes by, and then 30, and then 45, and then an hour, and so. You kind of get the drill. And like I said, this was in your late 90s, early 2000s, but before 9/11. So I'm sitting up there in the cockpit, and I'm a firm believer in keeping everybody informed. I learned real early in life that the first person that gets to mom with their story wins. So I tell people about every 15 minutes or so, give them an update, tell them what's going on, and so forth. So I'm sitting up there this one afternoon, and it's snowing out. I mean, it's really nasty out. And this gal sticks her head in the cockpit and she says, "I'll never fly Northwest again." Okay, fine. Thank you for that declaration. It means a great deal to me. So I thought, you know what, this time I'm going to have a little fun with, inside this sick little mind. So I said, well, what airlines do you think you'd fly? Oh, probably American. And I said, okay. I said, can you kind of lean over here? I said, over there is the American jet that was going into Minneapolis. Now, what would be your second choice? And she did not get it. She said, probably United. And I said, okay, United's over there. And so it went. So anyway, we didn't have any control over that. Just like you folks in the back don't. We had to comply with air traffic control and the direction and so forth. And a lot of times it didn't make any sense at all. I'll give you that. On a second occasion, I went coasting into one of the Siouxs, either Sioux City or Sioux Falls. And again, I got put out in a ramp. And this time we were out there for about 4 hours, maybe 4.5 hours. And we had come, I think, from Duluth that day. We didn't have any kibbles and bits to hand out. And the blue room was getting full. I mean, it was just getting ugly back there. And finally, I'm sitting out there on the ramp, and I'm looking at open gates. That pissed me off. There's open gates. I mean, for goodness sake, let our ground crew come over and marshal us in, open the doors, let the people get out, stretch, walk around, and buy some pop or whatever they want. But don't leave us confined up in that aluminum can. But anyway, common sense is always my long suit. So anyway, I'm sitting there, and probably about after 4.5, 5 hours, almost 5 hours, I think it was before 5, I got on ground control, and I said, Northwest 168, and he said, go ahead, sir. And I said, listen, I don't know if you've seen the passenger manifest on this aircraft, but we have 19 people on board that were headed out to a Donner reunion out west. And I said, those people are getting kind of hungry, and they're starting to look at the other passengers, and it's making the other passengers nervous. I said, you think you could find a gate for us before things get out of hand here? The guy chuckled a little bit, and he came back and he says, Northwest, he says, you're cleared to taxi to gate 7 or 5, whatever it was. And so we taxied up there, opened up the airplane, let folks out, let them get their kibbles and bits and pop, mill around smartly, and about an hour and a half later, we were good to go, and we took off with the same number of people we came in with. Didn't lose nary a one. Anyway, sometimes you got to get creative. And with that, this is Bobo Base Gear Stop.